everyone. Very excited to have everyone here tonight. We have a really great summer recipe, starting with tomatoes, and then we're moving to potatoes. So I'm going to show you how to just create roasted tomatoes that you can have for any time of the year. I'd love to do this during the summer, the end of the summer, when whether we grow them in our garden, we don't have our vegetable garden this year, unfortunately, but I do get bushels of tomatoes from the farmers, local farmers, and make roasted tomatoes that I can use for sauce. I can use it for soup. I can use it for appetizers, for all different things, hors d'oeuvres, all through the year. And sometimes I run out. And I'm very sad when that happens. So I'm getting a head start on this, starting this today. And these are actually store-bought tomatoes. And my tip is that if you're buying store-bought tomatoes, find a local international market, either Italian market, and some are called international markets, maybe a Mediterranean market. Usually they'll have a lot of produce and they buy the produce in bulk, and it is very, very good. And the produce moves very quickly in those stores. So what I love about that is I get very fresh tomatoes, and their pricing is nothing like your regular grocer. It's much better. So looking at what you're paying for your food, and especially today, we don't want to pay for food that's going to be bad in a day or two. We want it to be fresh, but we want it to be stay fresh for at least a couple of days. So these I bought on Sunday for this class today. I just had a couple of them that were getting soft. And I want to tell you what we're going to use in this recipe. I am using rosemary, basil, and thyme, the French pantry herb blend. And of the other herb blend I'm using is roasted garlic and chive. Those are things that I pretty much use roasted garlic and chive almost every single day. The reason that I use that is because it gives really great flavor. And if you don't have your fresh herbs growing, or you don't have a chef's garden as I do, you might just use that and you will be very satisfied with the taste. Dried herbs like this, if you look at these herbs, the dried herbs are actually a much stronger taste than the herbs that you pick and cook with. When you cook with a lot of herbs, the flavor doesn't continue to be enhanced like it is when you cook with the dried herbs. So what I love to do in the summertime is I use a combination of fresh and dried. And the reason that I do that is because I want to make sure that if I'm using basil, I want to taste the basil. And the longer you cook basil in something, the less taste that you have and the less aroma that you'll recognize. So just making sure that you know that and kind of take note of that. I'm also using the Savory salt, and you can see this salt is pretty chunky. I have it right here. And I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to leave some chunks, but I'm going to rub it in my hands, and it pretty much is kind of like using your own mortar pestle. So I'm just going to do that and show you how that works with that salt. It is a very moist salt. It is from the waters of Burgundy, France, and this is just a fabulous salt. It's not too strong. It's not too light. It does have a crunch to it, but generally we grind it, and it is very, very good, and it has a very earthy taste to it. Then I'm also using our Vietnam pepper. We import peppers from around the world. It's part of our international piece in our French pantry line. And Vietnam pepper is one that I use very often. It's got a punch to it, but not too much. It's not fruity. It's not too spicy. It's just like perfect to add a little punch to something. When you're doing tomatoes have a natural sugar in them, and the longer you roast them, the more caramelized they become. So you want to make sure that if you're using pepper, like if you use Telecherry pepper is beautiful, but that's more fruity, a little bit sweeter, not too pungent like this one. So that's why I use the Vietnam pepper. Also using our EVU, our extra virgin olive oil. It's 100% from the south of France in Provence. And I'm very proud to say that this is one of the best finishing oils or olive oils, the extra virgin olive oils that I've ever tasted. Then I'll also be using, after we roast the tomatoes, I'll be using our mini chopper just to show you what we'll do with the garlic once it's already roasted with the tomatoes. So we're going to get started. Our tomatoes, I have 14 vine ripe tomatoes. These are tomatoes on the vine. So this is the size. You take them and you could roast them whole. But the reason that I don't do that with these or any tomatoes, unless they're cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes, is because the juice that is in this tomato, and you can see they're very ripe, they're just at a perfect time for roasting. If they were starting to get too soggy or too soft, don't worry, you could still roast them. So if you have tomatoes that you feel like you don't want to slice them for a sandwich because they're too ripe, that is the perfect time to stick them in a pan, stick them in the oven at 425 and put whatever you like on them. So I'm going to show you what I like in this recipe and how we actually do this. I baked mine, roasted mine today at 425. They're in the rectangular mold, but now I'm going to show you also, you could, if you have the Fleximat, we can also use the Fleximat for this. This is nonstick and you don't have that much juice from the tomatoes, but you have enough. So you definitely need a lip. You don't want to do this on your Bon mat, which is your flat baking sheet. You definitely want to do it either you could do a round mold, but we're using the rectangular and the Fleximat, which are perfect for this. So I am going to start out just by putting my tomatoes on here. I've only just cut them in half. When you roast tomatoes, you want to make sure that you always roast them with the inside up, not face down, face up. And the reason that you do that is because you want to roast where you have all of that juice coming out of the tomato. And the warmer it gets and the more it roasts, the more caramelized your tomatoes become. You want to start out on the middle shelf of your oven, and in the last 10 minutes, move it to the top shelf, not on broil, but just to the top shelf, and leave it for the last 10 minutes at 425 on that top shelf. And what will happen is you'll end up with tomatoes that are absolutely gorgeous, very sweet, very caramelized, and perfect for whatever you want to make next. So I have a couple of the tomatoes here that I'm going to just slice right down the middle. You can see that I did take that little top of the core out. You don't have to do that. If you're making sauce, you can, of course, afterwards, you're going to be putting them in the Vitamix or whatever blender you use to mix them up if you're making sauce. Today, I'm not making sauce, but I'm showing you how to get your tomatoes ready. So anytime you want to make sauce, you can. And that's just a really great thing to do. So you can see I still have some tomato juice left in this bowl. 14 tomatoes are perfect for this. And then the next thing that I do is I take that same amount of grape, you can buy the very sweet, these are grape organic tomatoes. And I just take some of these and I stick them between the other tomatoes. And I use around 14 to 20 of them, depending on how it's looking on my tray. You don't want to overcrowd it. You want everything to, have some space. You're going to stick these in between the tomatoes that you have on here. Those of you that are counting, just let us know when I've reached my total amount, because I'm not talking and counting at the same time. I could, but not when I'm on camera. Okay, so we'll put one more here. And notice that I'm not cutting the small tomatoes. And the reason that I'm not cutting them, they're going to burst from the heat. And when they burst from the heat, the juice comes out and allows them and that juice also to become very caramelized. The next thing that I'm taking is some whole garlic cloves. I have 4 large garlic cloves here. And I'm just going to leave them with the back on. You can cut that off. You don't have to, because we're going to squeeze the garlic out of it when we're done. And I'm just sticking this. I have 4 of them, which is really good. The aroma of this recipe when it's cooking in the oven is amazing. Actually, my husband was watching the soccer game in the other room and came out and he's like, is that what's for dinner? I'm like, no, you cannot eat any of that. I know it smells good, but you're not going to be eating it. So let me start my oven. You're going to bake it at 425 for 35 to 45 minutes. And I had the oven on and this got done over an hour ago. So I turned it off because it's like 100 degrees here today. It's so hot. The next thing I'm going to take is I'm going to take my herbs. I have three sprigs of lemon thyme. And if you're going to use thyme, you can use just regular thyme, but the lemon thyme brings something out in the tomatoes that is just fantastic. So what I'm going to do is take a couple of these. I'll actually take two of them and I'm just going to set them here so they roast with the tomatoes. And then I grew all of this in on my deck here. What a bountiful array of fresh herbs I've had this year. It's been amazing. And I remember when I had it in the step down garden, it wasn't like fast to just grab it. If I didn't pick it in the morning, then I would be thinking that, oh, okay, I'll get it later. But when you're cooking, you're like, wow, I'd like to add some basil to that, or I'd like to add some thyme to that. And when you have it close, you're going to use it a lot more. And I found that I've been harvesting this. I started growing the basil in April. I bought the plants and I potted them. And it has been so plentiful and so amazing. I'm so excited that I have all of these great herbs and vegetables for everything that I'm baking. One thing about the basil, I just put a little bit of the basil on the tomatoes now because basil does not like heat. And that is like a really big plus for you to remember because when basil, as it continues to heat and cook, the flavor and aroma dissipates. So if you want your basil to keep that aroma, put it in. You could put it in for the first 10 minutes and then take it out. But the better thing to do is know that you can still leave this here. You'll still have some taste from it, but it's not going to be abundant. And I love basil. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to put it in, I'm going to chop it and I'm going to put it in the end after all of the tomatoes have been roasted. The other herbs that I have here that if I was making this into sauce for pasta, I have fresh oregano and I would definitely be chopping this oregano. You could cook with the oregano in it. I'm not going to do that because I don't know what I'm going to be using these for, but I did get out some ricotta and thought I would mix them. The other thing is parsley. Now you can, if you're taking the tomatoes after you roast them and you want to make a sauce, like parsley will go in once you start mixing up that sauce. It'll be great. But flat parsley is always better, of course, when you're making anything with tomatoes, flat parsley, not curly, just as a reminder. And then I also have a sprig of rosemary from my rosemary tree. So I'm going to take some of the rosemary and I'm going to stick this in here too. So this is what I like to put in here is the rosemary, the basil, and the thyme. I think I'll put the other piece of thyme in here too. Why not? So this looks like it's pretty much getting ready to go in the oven, but I am going to take 2 tablespoons of oil. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. I have to put the salt first. If you put oil before the salt, it's going to behave differently with all the juice that is actually going to come out. And this will just help the whole cooking process, keep the flavor. You want to keep that flavor in your tomato. I put in about 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt and that. And remember, these are going to liquefy, so you want to keep that flavor going. If you don't put any salt or pepper in them, you may find that you need more flavor as you're going through, and tasting and testing everything as you go through that. So we have the garlic, we have our fresh herbs, and now it's time to put in some of our dried herbs. So our dried herbs, like I said, we have roasted garlic and chive, and I'm going to put a light teaspoon of this. And I actually like to do it from my hand because I have a lot more control than if I do it from a spoon. I want to make sure that every one of my tomatoes have some of the seasoning on it, because this seasoning is also going to help the other herbs live within these tomatoes as well. Just I need a little speck more for this side over here. How many of you have ever roasted tomatoes? You know, some of these things that we do are just so simple. It's just people, it's the interpretation of cooking that sometimes gets in the way for people. It's what they think about it, that they think, oh, that's too hard. Oh, I've never done that. Why would I do it? I can buy them in a box roasted. But you can't buy them in a box roasted with all of the herbs and flavors and surprises that you can when you do it like this. So this one is rosemary basil thyme, which again goes right along with everything else that we have in here. Okay, this is ready to go in the oven. My oven is not hot enough yet, but that's okay. I'm not going to make you wait 35 to 45 minutes. And I generally, today I roasted them for around 45 minutes, and then I put them, or maybe 40 minutes, and put them 10 minutes on the top shelf of my oven. And coming back, wow, just absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to set this aside. Never put anything in your oven while it's preheating, because preheat comes from the bottom coil and the top of the oven, the top coil on the top of the oven. And what happens, that's like a broiling effect. And what you want to do is always put everything in the oven when it's at the temperature that you need to cook that. So I'm going to just set these aside here. My oven will be when it's done. So we have now finished our roasted tomatoes for video's sake. And you can see I did remove the basil, and I left the basil in for almost all of the time. You can see the basil is very dried. That's okay. I'm going to leave it like that and put it in the mini chopper. And then here's our rosemary. This is all cooked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of the herbs that I had there. I'm going to break off the rosemary. And I'm going to do the same thing with the lemon thyme. And I had 3 sprigs here. Wow. You know what? It smells like roasted herbs. It's a really nice, nice flavor. You're going to love it. So we take all of these, putting them here. And I see another basil leaf here. We'll put that in. And then we have the garlic. So the garlic, I'm just going to squeeze the garlic, squeeze off that outer shell of the garlic. And if you use fresh garlic, just putting fresh garlic afterwards, it's not going to be real sweet garlic. It's just going to be a garlic, flavor of garlic taste. I'm losing the rest of my garlic here. There's more. This one's already done. The garlic, it's funny because the garlic also, it shrunk quite a bit. And we'll just squeeze this one. We have the garlic there. And then I'm going to put everything into the mini chopper, which is here. Okay, that was underneath. I'm also going to take actually the juice from my tomatoes that I just did and dump that in. And I am going to put actually a little bit more of the oil here. And this is important because the oil helps the tomatoes maintain the flavor. Okay. The oil picks up the flavor and therefore goes into the sauce or whatever else you are making. So we're going to take all the herbs that were baked or roasted together, and we're putting them all into the Eco-Chop, the mini chopper with the garlic. And it's important that you do it with the garlic because the garlic with the herbs is going to help. The weight of the garlic is going to help the mini chopper blade spin when you spin it and kind of pick up and carry those herbs with it. So put the top on. This is the easiest thing in the world to use. And we're just going to mix it up like that. Very good. You can already smell it. It smells so lovely. Okay, so now when we open it, you can see we have one long piece here. We'll put that aside. We don't need that. I'll take this out. And then I will take the herbs and the garlic. It smells so lovely. And I'm going to put it on the roasted tomatoes. And these just got a total upgrade with that roasted garlic. And if you love garlic, put as much as you want. You'll notice that this isn't a baking recipe where I have to use exactly a quarter of a teaspoon. I do the taste that I know that I like, my husband likes, my family likes, and you need to do that too. What fresh herbs do you like? If people don't generally use it on tomato, but you like it on tomato, use that. That's the most important thing, that you cook enough to where you feel confident in the kitchen and that you feel good about what you're doing. And you feel like you can give yourself permission to try something new, to do something different, and to do something spectacular. And this is all like so simple, so easy. There's hardly any cleanup at all when you use these molds. And I think it's really important to always remember who's your hero in the recipe. And we know that the hero in this recipe is the tomato. So what we don't want to do is disguise the taste of the tomato. We just want to enhance the flavor. That's it. It's like two friends going out together and, kind of talking and finishing one another's sentences. That's what we want to do. And that's exactly what we want to do with our roasted tomatoes. So if you want to take a snap of this, now's your chance. These beautiful tomatoes, I'm going to show you something that I would do with them. Let's say that I was serving an appetizer, and I think this is a really cool appetizer to serve. If you're doing tomatoes, most people do like ricotta cheese. And if you're doing the ricotta, let's take this. And you can do like a mound of ricotta. And you can take one of the tomatoes, and I'm going to put it in the chopper, the mini chopper as well. I'll take one. I'll take some of the small ones out of here. And then I'm going to close this. And what's going to happen, we're going to get a lot of juice, and we're going to get a lot of great herbs and flavor just all mixed together that's going to go into that ricotta cheese. And then instead of making a dip with more mayonnaise or sour cream or more melted cheese or whatever, you don't even need to do that. Sorry, my hands got a bit greasy. See that? Now what we've created, it's not a puree. It's like a tomato. It's almost like a tapenade, but it's not as thick. So we are going to take 3/4 of this. Then we're going to mix this up just with the spatula. It's going to be fine. Imagine this flavor, how it's going to be. Oh my goodness. Now you don't want to leave it just exactly like that, because it doesn't look that beautiful, but we already know it's going to taste really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a fresh, clean bowl. And you could use a plate, you could use a bowl, you could use a scoop and make little round balls and then put it in the refrigerator for it to harden a little bit. It won't get that hardened, but this is at room temperature. Also, you want to start your tomatoes at room temperature. I'm going to take one of the roasted tomatoes and I'm going to set it in the bowl. And then I am going to put the rest of this on top. Another. We're just, there you go. And now this is all set for a dip or for whatever you would like to use it for. But how beautiful is that? I mean, this is, imagine lining your lasagna instead of using a sauce, but using your tomatoes like this with all of that juice, using the ricotta cheese and just building that. Oh my goodness, it will be the best lasagna in the world. You can also take fresh spinach and mix it in here. If you're going to blend it, you could saute your spinach for about 3 to 5 minutes and then put the spinach in there, and then you have another whole component for omelets or for whatever you'd like to use. So lots of things. We do have the the rectangular mold, which I made these in, and also the Flexi mat, which I made the second batch in. Those two items, I believe, are on sale. Eric will send you the sale price. I think well, they are regular. The regular price is, I believe, $66.
$69 each, and on sale for 40 a piece, or you
Okay.
can buy them both for 75 and get a free medium bond mat with them. It works
Which
great
is
as a lid.
awesome. That's awesome. And what a great sale that is. I can tell you for me, these are items that I use every day in my kitchen. It's not only for roasting, but it's also for baking, making pumpkin rolls, for making a lasagna, making a family dinner, a one pan meal, or whatever you'd like to do. So I hope you take advantage of this great recipe. It's so, so simple to do. Leaves your house smelling wonderful, and the flavor is out of this world. So I'm going to pass it on to Eric because he is going to do a grilled potato salad. So I can't wait to see that. I've already bought the potatoes. I'm going to make it too. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you at the end of the show. Take a second for Eric to load up his presentation. I see you. Great. Okay, Eric, we don't hear you yet. Hey, it seems like Eric got disconnected, but he will be right back. He's got his recipe takes 15 minutes, so I hope you all hang on because this is a fabulous recipe coming from his kitchen in West Bloomfield, Michigan. Always technical things. When they don't work, they don't work. Causing problems. Okay. While we're waiting for Eric, I can go over a couple things, some of the tips. Always for the tomatoes, always before you put the oil, always salt. So the reason that you want to do that is so that the flavor penetrates instead of sliding right off of your tomatoes. Whole garlic sweetens the roast. Chopped garlic burns. So don't forget that because you don't want to put chopped garlic in here and have it all burned because we all know that burnt garlic does not taste good. It's not a great thing. Tuck whole or lightly smashed garlic cloves between the tomatoes. What I did with my garlic, I smashed them a little bit to take the paper off, and I do that between a bon mat. So any baking mat that you have, you can use that for that. when you add the rosemary and thyme, you can add that during the cooking. And basil is really best done in the end, unless you roast it and then chop it afterwards, just to use with the garlic and the other herbs that you had there, because you'll go back and regarnish your tomatoes if you're serving them all on one at one time with the tray. Tomatoes are really good. They freeze really well. You can freeze them in a glass container. You could use any container that is like has a vacuum pack seal. You could use a Ziploc. A lot of times I use Ziplocs because they don't take as much room in the freezer, but I like to make it flat and then get as much air out of that as possible. And then you can stack them on top, the bags on top in your freezer, which is really good, much better than putting it all in the bottom of a Ziploc and then rolling it. That takes up way too much room, and the tomatoes can get smashed as well. The other way works much better. Remember that if you roast it for 30 to 40 minutes, the standard roast is at 425 for 30 to 40 minutes, concentrated flavor with light caramelization. If you do it 400 to 45 to 55 minutes, which I left mine at 425 for 45 minutes, a little bit, 45 to 50 minutes total, with the last 10 minutes on the top shelf. That was really great, and the caramelization is perfect. Extra color, finish with 2 to 3 minutes under the broiler, but you cannot put our molds under the broiler. And then you don't need a broiler. You just leave it at 425, put it on the top shelf on the first rack holder on the top shelf. So definitely you want to be looking at all of these different tips. And remember that different tomatoes roast differently. Large tomatoes give body, grape tomatoes add sweetness. So generally, the larger your tomato, the more body you have in your sauce or in what you're roasting. And the smaller your tomatoes, the sweeter they are. So these are just like, they're not small tomatoes, they're not Campari tomatoes. They're like a medium size. And I think they're perfect. Vine ripe generally are sweeter. So that's why I chose the vine ripe. If it was the end of the season, I would choose whatever bushels looked like the best tomatoes, because end of the season, you're going to find that the tomatoes are sweeter because it is the end of the season. And a lot of them may have been on the vine for a longer period of time. The other thing, if your pan looks juicy halfway through its flavor, it's not a mistake. So don't worry about that. You don't need to add any other juice or no chicken broth or anything like that, like you do when you're making like tomato soup. But these are perfect for tomato soup too. I make tomato soup all the time, but I do add a little bit of chicken broth when I do that. So, like I said, you could spoon over ricotta. You could do it over fresh mozzarella. You could toss with warm pasta. You could pile it onto toasted bread instead of avocado toast. Have roasted tomato toast. It's so good. Anti-inflammatory, so good for you too. I don't know about any of you, but when I eat a lot of tomatoes, I just generally feel better. It's one of those things that makes me feel better. So I know that it's all of that anti-inflammatory properties of these, the vitamins in these great tomatoes. You could serve also alongside chicken or fish. What we like to do also is I like to do fish with seafood, bake, and you roast everything all together. And the roasted tomatoes, you do the same thing for roasting, but you have the chicken in there too, and they all roast together. It's beautiful. And you can enjoy that straight out of the pan. You can also take your potato masher and mash the tomatoes once they're done. These really thinned out a lot. They became not so plump, but as they released the liquid, they became smaller. So it was really great that you have all that flavor. Looking at them, I don't want to smash them unless I was putting them into a sauce or making soup. And I think we'll make some appetizers and eat them just like that. I'm sure that we'll have tomato toast tomorrow for breakfast. And I don't know what happened to Eric.
Cindy, I think I have it fixed. I'd like to
good.
try if you're ready.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
I was just giving them some great info that I didn't get to share. So great. That was perfect.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Taste Trend Tuesday. Today, what I'm making is a grilled potato salad. So it's different take on potato salad. You know, most of them are mayonnaise. This one is not, and it just has a lighter taste, and it's very fresh, and it's something different. And we love it at our house, so I thought everyone else might like it too. So what we're first going to start with is about 3 pounds of these little Yukon Gold potatoes. And we're going to drop these in boiling water for about 8 minutes. We want them pork tender so that you can pierce them. And I've got some water boiling over here. Let those go. And set the timer. So we'll check on those in 8 minutes. Then in the meantime, while that's boiling, I'm going to get the herbs and things ready for the salad. So first thing we need is half a bunch of green onion. So I'm going to, I've already cut the ends off of these. We're just going to cut them very thin. You can do these in the Eco-Chop also, but I kind of like the rings. And if you do it in the Eco-Chop, you can always get the rings. So that's why I'm doing it this way, but everything else I'm going to put in the Eco-Chop when it's ready too. There's some stuff there. You just want to get these as uniform as you can, and you want them, you know, thin, because nobody wants to put a big chunk of onion in their mouth when they're eating. Okay, and then we need a half of a small red onion. Always hard to tell what a small red onion is because they're all the same size. Not cooperating today. There we go. This I'm going to chop up in the Eco-Chop because it will be much faster and easier. We want them fairly small, and it looks like pretty much we got it there. In here. So we've got the onions in there and the green onions, and now we need half a cup of parsley and a quarter cup of dill. So we have a thing going on here in Michigan where there's some sort of parasite in fresh vegetables, so we're washing everything very, very thoroughly to make sure it'll get thick. And so these herbs I've had soaking in draining water, rinsing out to get everything out of them. So I'm just going to put them in the little herb spinner in here just to dry them out a bit. And then chop this up really fine. But first I want to do the same thing with the parsley. That's about right. And I'm making a mess, but that's okay. It'll all wipe up. Okay, so now I'll put the parsley in there with my blade and the dough. And then we want to let this go for a while. We want this chopped very finely. Yeah. So that's pretty fine there now. And then we need two tablespoons of capers, drained. Good with that. Parsley's in, capers in, salt and pepper to taste after that. So we're good to go. What we need to do next is we can make our dressing. And to make our dressing, it's very simple. It's half a cup of olive oil. I'm using our French Pantry olive oil. And this is from the Wine and Dine set. And this bottle is the exact amount of olive oil that I need for this. And then we need a quarter cup of red wine vinegar. And then we need 3 tablespoons of mustard. Now I'm using 2 different types. I'm going to use a tablespoon of our French Pantry with the herbs de Provence. And then I'm going to use a whole grain mustard. It's a French mustard that I bought at a specialty store this morning. They sell it at Kroger, there was not anything special. But I like it because it's got the whole grains in it. And it just, I like the way it looks in the potato salad, and I like the way it tastes. A bit more here. And that's our salad dressing. Both of these aside until we are ready to deal with the potatoes, which should be in just a few more minutes. Okay, those are going to need a few more minutes. Okay, we're back. The potatoes are done. They took about 12 minutes altogether. So what I've done is let them cool for a little bit so I can handle them. Now we're going to cut them in half. If they're larger, cut them in quarters. Too big to handle. And then what we're going to do is drizzle some olive oil on them. And then we will take them out to the grill. Keep in mind though, you don't have to grill this if you don't want to. It comes out better, I think, but you can serve them just like this. We'll put the dressing in it, or could also, after we drizzle them with a little olive oil, throw them on a Fleximat in the oven preheated at 425 for about 10 minutes, just to get them a little bit browned, and then mix them. So these are all cut now. Alright, so these are our potatoes. We'll take those out to the grill. Okay, I'm back from the grill. They were on there for about 5 minutes. Had the grill at about 550 degrees. And it's a good idea to have long tongs and a long spatula if you've got one. I couldn't find my long spatula. They just need a few minutes though, just to get some char on them a little bit. And then what we're going to do is just take all of the herbs that we cut up and the onions in there. And then we're going to a couple more pints on this just to mix it back up. And then what we want to do is just lightly toss this, because you don't want to break the tomatoes or the potatoes up. You want potato salad, not mashed potatoes. So just gently it in. And the great thing about this salad is it's good warm, it's good at room temperature, and it's good cold. So however you want to eat it, whenever you want to eat it, it's going to taste good. And there's our finished product. Put some on the plate. And there you go, potato salad from the grill. Thanks everyone. I'm going to turn this back over to Cindy now. Have a great night.
Wow, thank you so much, Eric. I cannot wait. I have never made that recipe, but I know when you shared it with me, I thought, wow, that's a really great idea for the summer series, because I'm still making potato salad the way my mother made it. I have tried a couple different variations, but I always end up going back to hers. But that looks like something I think that my family would really love. Potato salad is one of those things people either love it or not. And some people in my family aren't crazy about it, but they love grilled potatoes. So perhaps that will be something that we try. I really want to thank everyone for coming along in this series. Our summer series has one more class, and I believe that's on the 28th, 2 weeks from tonight, of July. We will be off during the month of August. We won't be presenting the classes. We will be doing some pop-ups now and then to just talk about our sales and different products that you could use for the recipes that we have. But don't forget that our website has a blog with lots of brunch recipes that are really popular this time of year. We have one of the blogs is all done on a French picnic, and there are some really great recipes in that as well. And we also have over close to 500 recipes on the website that are simple and that anyone can do. And I think it's really important that a lot of times we think, because we're not a competent cook, we think that we can't cook. But the truth is, when you have the right tools, everything comes into alignment. So definitely take advantage of these sales we have right now. These products will last forever. Something that you'll be using for years and years and years in your kitchen. So thank you everyone for coming along, and just know that you can get any information that you need and more on our Bon Cook website. It's just boncook.com. Go check along the tabs across the top with recipes, with the blog, with specials. Some specials you'll find coupon codes for. And we also have something that Eric and I worked on, was a base and bloom smoothie ebook. So there are many, many, many recipes in there, a lot of really great Great information about how to reduce inflammation in your body and how to get yourself give yourself a smoothie fix with fresh vegetables and fruits and some herbs and mixing them all together. And what we found when we did this entire book is that the smoothies taste way better than I ever dreamed that they would taste. I've always wanted to be healthier and I wanted to try smoothies, but I didn't just trust any recipe that I found online. So I spent some time and collected lots of different information and put fruit. A couple of them have a half a teaspoon of jam in them. Some of them have like a strawberry balsamic in them that really boosts that flavor and also stays within the property of having something that isn't overloaded with sugar, but is tastes really good and is really healthy too. So if you try that, if you haven't received an email inviting you to download the link for the smoothie book, you definitely want to do that. It's one part of our Base and Bloom summer series, and you'll see smoothies on the front cover. So that's our gift from our kitchen to yours. We wish you a great next half of the summer and really looking forward to seeing you in our next cooking class on July 28th. Thanks so much, everyone. Get your sale products. See you soon. Bye-bye.